Today is another day where we are going to finish the series about communication. And I think this is a very important aspect of communication. And in my opinion, it's the best part of the series. It is going to be about the physics of listening. You will love it. You will be blessed by it. And you'll be made a little bit better in your ability to communicate after you have listened to this study. We have learned a bit about communication. We have found out it is the heart of a relationship. We have come to understand that communication is the heart of every relationship. And the pulse of that heart is understanding. When we listen, we understand. So let's finish and seal this topic by learning how to listen. There are some basic things you need to understand in order to understand how to listen. We are going to talk about those things one by one. First, you have to have a mindset that says the other person might know something I don't know. So the first thing in learning how to listen is to assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't know. I concur with Jordan Peterson, a clinical psychologist, who said, sometimes you have to change the way you understand everything to properly understand a single something. When you are involved in a genuine conversation, you are listening and talking, but mostly listening. Listening is paying attention. It is amazing what people will tell you if you listen. Sometimes if you listen to people, they will even tell you what's wrong with them. Sometimes they will even tell you how they plan to fix the problem. Sometimes that helps you fix something wrong with yourself. So when you listen, assume that the other person who is talking to you might know something that you don't know. And one of the benefits of listening is that when you listen, people will tell you what's wrong with them. They will explain their problems. And sometimes the process of them explaining their problems will help you fix your own problems. So when you listen, you don't lose. You actually gain. Because in the process of listening to someone, they may tell you that may help you also fix something wrong with yourself. So the first thing is to assume that the other person might know something you don't know. Another thing to consider when you learn how to listen is avoid abrupt mood changes. Abrupt mood changes distract you from focusing and paying attention. And we know focus and attention as the very fabric that makes a good listener. So take charge of your mood first and avoid abrupt mood changes. Be supportive, empathetic, and understanding. If you want to understand how to listen, you must go an extra mile. Most people listen with their ears alone. But you should go an extra mile to listen with your heart, to listen with your mind and with your eyes also. Pay attention and be fully present. There's a wonderful study which says that it will take 21 minutes to refocus again after distraction. So if you are listening to someone and you get distracted, by anything, maybe a phone call or whatever, for you to regain back the original focus you had before that distraction, it will take about 21 minutes. And that's risky. You may come back and find the other person is no longer interested in the conversation. Or you may come back and find out the other person has held back the information that he or she wanted to share. You may come back and find out the other person has already sometimes forgotten what he was trying to say. You may come and find back that the other person has changed his or her mind to say what she wanted to say as she wanted. How to listen entails that you check your own attitude. One of the viruses that destroys humans' capacity to listen is a know-it-all. The know-it-all virus has killed human ability to listen. Look at what Demetri Martini says. A know-it-all person is the one who knows everything except for how annoying he is. When you listen to someone, sometimes the person may not tell you something new. The person may be repeating something which you know already. And the temptation that tempt most people is that to tell them, I know it. I know it 10 years back. That creates a spirit of competition and superiority, which you don't need in a genuine conversation. If you want to build a relationship, that's dangerous. So, even if you know something that the other person is talking about, it is not necessary for you to tell them, I know it too. I know it this way. You may say it after listening to them in a way that is not offensive. So the know-it-all attitude is detrimental when it comes to listening. So seek first to understand, then to be understood. Look carefully for that which is not said. You know, people scan whom they can trust before they vent out or before they reveal something, before they speak the deeper issues in their lives. So they will sometimes swallow the very words they must say for you to detect that they have a problem that you should help. So a casual listener will not hear these words. But a careful, effective listener will not hear only that which is said, but even those words that are swallowed. He or she will detect the need, a deeper struggle that someone may be going through these swallowed words. So be careful and attentive enough to discover. You may be the only person who notices. In the modern culture where everybody cares about one thing, himself and himself and himself alone, it is almost impossible for people to detect the swallowed words. People are interested in their own things. But you may be that only one person that God may want to use to bring a helping hand to such a person. So be that kind of a person. Another key element of listening is asking questions. But do not overdo it. You cannot equate conversations and interview. They are not synonymous. So be polite and make sure you understand this. What's this I'm talking about? I'm talking about asking, pausing, and listening. Always remember, you ask, you pause, you listen. So questions make you in control of the conversation. Ask a question, make a pause, and listen the response of the other person. And for the benefit of conversation, open-ended questions are better than closed-ended questions. Yeah. So for the benefit of conversation and relationship, open-ended questions are more advisable than closed-ended questions. By open-ended question, I mean those questions that requires explanation, requires someone to tell a story, requires someone to recount something. Those are open-ended questions. They include phrases like, can you describe, tell me more, or explain, or those kind of things, how, and those type of triggers are open-ended question. But closed-ended question are those that when asked, they require a single answer and the conversation is over. What's your name? I'm John. I'm done. Are you a fan of so-and-so? Yes. Done. So how you frame a question can destroy your ability to conversate or can upgrade. So this is something that requires personal creativity and how you maneuver through this way of asking questions. Sometimes a simple act of asking questions can make yourself realize the answer quicker than the one asked. In these moments, people are tempted to answer their own questions before the other person listens. Do not fall to that temptation unless they have told you to answer or they are afraid to answer the question. So ask, make a pause, and then listen to the other person. When you ask the question, it's like you turn the tables to the other person to communicate. You are giving them space to come in and share and talk and communicate better. Another very important but ignored aspect of listening is paraphrase. You know, you cannot say you understood something that you cannot summarize. If you cannot say it in a nutshell, then you have not understood what you listened to. So make it a habit to paraphrase what the other person is talking. If the person talks paragraphs, you repeat that paragraph into a sentence in your own words. If the person talks pages, you repeat those pages in a paragraph. So make sure you summarize and you paraphrase the conversation. I give you a simple example of John and James. John asked James, "How was the camp?" James said, "It was so fantastic, unbelievable. We really enjoyed." John asked, "But James, can you briefly explain to me the knowledge you got?" James was like, "John, you really missed. It was so good, I tell you." You know what? James does not know what he's talking about. He was there in the camp, but he cannot repeat a thing about the things he has been listening to in that camp. What we can tell is that James was there, but he was not listening. He did not even understand. He cannot make even a phrase, a paragraph, in a nutshell, what was taking place in those lessons. He just talks about this adjective. It was fantastic, good, unbelievable, but can you explain? He can't. So remember, if you can't repeat in a nutshell what you have heard, then you did not listen, so you did not understand. The last aspect of the physics of communication, of listening, is to use encourages. Okay, what are encourages? Encourages are verbal or non-verbal response of the listener to show the talker or the speaker that we are together. I am paying attention. I am here. You can trust me. Continue to speak. I'm willing to listen. So these are what we call encourages. One of those is like a head nodding, like you nod your head, or you say things like yes, so what happens? Those simple phrases, they are called encourages, but you do not have to overdo it. It's become like monotonous and not good when you overdo it. So moderation is a key when it comes to encourages. Another thing to consider under this aspect is like you need to repeat back, to tell them what you think they mean and let them correct you. I cannot emphasize this point enough. There's a lot of people who have been misrepresented because the first listener did not understand what the other person meant and what they did not meant. So it is very, very wise to know what the other person does not mean. What he does not mean is as very important as what he or she means. You may not have maybe a privilege to understand everything about communication, but if you understand this, you are far way ahead. Do not make people mean what they don't mean. That is bias. Make sure you understand what they mean and make sure you understand what they don't mean. Politely ask, what do you mean? And what do you mean? What do you do not mean by this? If you see there is any loop for misrepresentation, speak it out, let them clarify, so that you are not likely to misrepresent them in case you have to share the information you are speaking with. May God improve our families, whether in the future or in the present, through this lesson. God bless you. Have a blessed time. See you next time.